Hello, welcome back to another one of my movie reviews. Ouch. It's been a very hot and humid day. That's why I'm wearing the little raggedy t-shirt. No shame in my game today. This is one of the lightest shirts I have. It's hot, humid, and whew, man. But anyway, I want to talk about a movie that I bought a couple years ago, and it's kind of I'm kind of have mixed feelings about this movie. Okay, and that movie is called The Wrestler. Years ago when this came out, what year this came out again? Gosh, oh my gosh! I just watched this again the other day. 2009, 8, 2008, 13 years ago. When this came out in 2008, the wrestling world was set afire with this movie. A lot of people said, "Oh my gosh, it exposed the business! It exposed the business!" But the funny thing is, in the wrestling business, if you actually paid attention to it, or if you actually know anything about it, you know a lot of the stuff is fabricated. Yes, the matches are predetermined. Yes, the matches are predetermined. We all know who's going to win or lose. The question is how it's going to happen. They work things out in advance, sometimes or sometimes in the ring itself. So it's fun. This movie, Mickey Rourke, after he did this movie, I mean, I had a greater respect for him, and he was a good role for this movie. Stars also Marissa Tomei, which after this movie, she started getting hot again. She always was hot, but she started appearing in movies again and stuff like that. Mickey Rourke also was in that rate around about that time. The story is about Randy Duran. Back in the heyday, probably like the late 80s, early 90s, he was like one of the biggest wrestling stars in the world. Nowhere near Hulk Hogan or John Cena, kind of like. Nowhere near that status. But he was like, I would say high mid-card status. When I say high mid-card status, you know. Load that decongestant. And then now there's like the mid 2000s. The glory days are behind him. People are not lining up to see him anymore. He still goes to shows because people will pay to see him, but they don't want to pay super high money to see him anymore. And this is what happened to a lot of wrestlers. I remember one wrestler called the Honky Tonk Man. He was making good money in WCW and WWE a long time ago. But nowadays, if he ever shows up in a wrestling ring or something like that, he's not getting paid that much money. I remember Greg the Hammer Valentine. Back in the earlier days, when I remember him, he was very popular. I remember it was about 10 years ago, I saw him at a comic book convention. No one knew who this guy was. I was like, oh my God, isn't that Greg the Hammer Valentine? But I didn't have enough money to get his autograph. Kind of regret that because I really wanted to, but I didn't have enough money. Hacksaw Jim Duggan was there too. I didn't have enough money for that as well. But we didn't have enough time. We didn't have enough time. Me and my friend was there. We didn't have enough time or energy or money to do stuff. So you get what you can and get out. Excuse me. But anyway, that's the kind of scenario where he was. You know, sometimes he gets paid $30. You know, he had video game based off. He was in video games and stuff like that for old school Nintendo, old Generation 1 Nintendo. You know, that kind of thing. So you can tell this is the kind of time period. And tell you the truth, this is the year year 2008, 2005, 2008 era. People buying DVDs. He's still selling videotapes. I'm assuming it was like early 2000s era. I'm assuming that. Well, because Nintendo came out with 84, 85, or 86, something like that. So it could be late 90s. It could be based out of late 90s too. You know, it could be. No, it couldn't be. It was like 2000s because Ring of Honor wasn't there. CZW wasn't there until like the 2000s. Okay. Yeah, so that's it. So it shows him like wrestling, you know, taking steroids, keeping in shape, tanning. He's spending a lot of money on rest. He's spending a lot of money on steroids and, you know, working out, tanning. But he couldn't pay his trailer. He couldn't pay the rent for his trailer. Got locked out. Had to sleep in his van. You know, and I'm like, dude, you spent a couple $100 on this. Pay your damn rent. Finds out he had, you know. Then one day in the middle, you know, he goes to this place called CZW, Combat Zone Wrestling, and do a blood match, like a hardcore blood match against this guy named Necro Butcher. Staples and glass and all sorts of stuff. I did have a video. I did have a DVD a long time ago. CZW, one of their matches, one of their shows. Some of the things I look up, I was like, oh gosh, how can you go through all that? You go all that for what, $200 or $300? But anyway, ends up having a heart attack. Almost died. And he's like, what am I going to wrestle? Your heart can't take it. You know, he has the hots for this hooker. You know, not hooker, sorry, stripper. She turns him down a lot, you know. Then when she tells him that, you know, he had a heart attack because he wasn't around for a while, you know, and, you know, she convinces him to visit his daughter. His daughter wanted nothing to do with him because he was an absent dad. And that's one of the things is that it kind of reminds me of what Bret Hart said years ago. In one of the interviews he did, he goes, it's funny, I wrestle 300 days a year. I spend Christmas, like sometimes Christmas Day and some holidays, entertaining everybody else's kids instead of being with my own. But that's the life I chose, you know. Maybe one day you'll think about that, you know. And that's kind of funny. It was like this. She decides to help him out because of the fact that, you know, she's an older woman and everybody wants to see the hot young thing instead of the older ones. And it reminds me when I was going to the strip clubs, the older women. Sorry. Sometimes the older women, no one talked to them. Yeah, okay, whatever. But they want to see the hot young things. But anyway, you know how that goes. He makes up with his daughter. Gets a regular job. No, he works a regular job, but he works more hours because he can't wrestle anymore. She probably should have did that inhaler. Oh gosh. Oh man. Whew. Using nasal inhalers helps me breathe a lot better, especially in this humid weather. But Sometimes it makes me sneeze like this. But anyway, one night he hangs out with some people, gets fucked up, misses his daughter. You know, he had a date with his daughter, missed her. She basically tells him to get the fuck out. Don't want to see you here anymore. So then what happened? He goes to the strip club, and the girl goes, you know, hey, you're just a customer. I can't do anything. He's like, okay, fine. He said, I want to dance. I don't want to dance. I said, this is what you want. I'm like, this is what you want. Oh, okay. And then she tells her to get the fuck out. You know, she was being. So he hit rock bottom. He's at his, you know, he's working the meat counter, deli counter. Cuts his hand and he's like, fuck this shit, I'll quit. He said, fuck it, I'm wrestling again. Big match, big grudge match. Yo, he's like, fuck it, because he lost everything. Then again, you know, he was a fuck up in the first place. The only place that he mattered was the ring. And that's what a lot of wrestlers are like. A lot of them can't transition from wrestling. Some can, some can't. And it's funny. Stripper had a change of heart, tried to talk him out of it. And he was like, told her, he said, look, this is who I am. No one gives a shit about me. The only people that gives a shit about me is the people out there. And that's it. That's all I'm worth. Wrestles. The funny thing, the Ayatollah, he was Ernest the Cat Miller from, you know, a long time ago. He's pretty funny. And then, of course, at the end of the match, you know, he started having another heart attack right then and there. And Ayatollah said, "Come on, man, come on, just pin me, we'll be done. Pin me." He's like, "No." And he wants to do his signature, remove the ram, and it ends like there. So you don't know what actually happens. You don't know. This is a really good movie. A lot of people flamed this movie because it showed the ugly side of the business. But that's okay. You know, when you see rock and roll pictures of people in bands and they doing all this stuff, that's no big deal. Why not this? Plus, another thing is, it really didn't. It didn't really show. It showed off. It basically showed what you kind of should have figured out in the first place. For example, my favorite wrestler is The Undertaker. Now you think about this. Really? You know that's not real. Come on. But anyway, this is probably like the fourth time I watched this movie because to me this is a very sad movie. It's a great movie, but I found it very sad because it just that tone, the mood of this video just kind of, it's like a downer. Is it a great movie? It's totally a great movie. Perfectly acted and everything. It's a great movie. The problem is it was just a downer. For me, that is. But anyway, that's my, you know, if you ever seen it, you should give it a try. Even though you may not be a wrestling fan, it's not really all about wrestling. It's about this guy, how he deals with everything. But anyway, that's enough for this movie. I do recommend this movie. So if you get a chance, when you get a chance, watch it. If you've seen this movie before and you liked it or you didn't like it, let me know down below what you thought about it. Let me know what you think. I'm not saying it's not like the best movie in the world, but it's still pretty damn good in my opinion. But otherwise, that's my thoughts. With that being said, I want to thank you for watching, spending a little bit of time and listen to me talk and ramble and rave. And one day, I'll do another one.